Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, welcome to Belgrade. We had yesterday the introductory session to the World Conference on Science and Art for Sustainability. Now, we are starting the opening session. The first speaker will be Professor Nebojša Lalić, Secretary General of the Serbian Academy of Sciences and Arts and member of the governing board of the Alliance of National and International Science Organizations for the Belt and Road regions. He will deliver the words of welcome. Please.
Distinguished colleagues, dear friends, thank you very much for giving me this honor and opportunity to address this reputable meeting at the beginning, in fact, to give the first presentation in the first session. This is due to the fact that I'm representing Serbian Academy for Sciences and Arts, which is together with, which is in fact the host of this meeting, and together with the co-host ANSO, Alliance of National and International Science Organizations for Belt and Road Regions, and United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organizations, otherwise known as UNESCO. So, and there are, of course, other institutions who, Club of Rome and the others who are participating in the organization of this meeting. Being a host, you won't mind if I just give you very briefly an outline of where you are physically, I mean, of this building and the institution in which the whole meeting is going on. And at the end, I will remind you of a fact that might be important for the course and conclusions and the discussions and at this conference. So, welcome to the building of Serbian Academy of Sciences and Arts. This beautiful building has not been built for academy. This is how it goes in these regions. But in the end, it became very well-known institution in Belgrade, and all rooms and on all 3 or 4 floors are occupied by different activities of the Academy, and there is another one on the other side of the main pedestrian street in Belgrade. So there is, it seems to us, a room for developing good national but also international relations and events. This is the hall in which you are. This is the main or ceremonial hall, if you wish, and the many meetings, sessions, and the assembly of all members of academies taking place here. Why I say all the members? Because Serbian Academy works according to a special law which on the Academy, which is the law of the Republic of Serbia. It is an independent institution. The members of the Academy, they elect their management and also decide about most important decisions at the assembly meetings. So at this moment we have, in fact, after the last elections, we had 36 corresponding and 98 full members, and we decided a little bit earlier that our number would be limited to 160. What might be more important information is that we have 8 departments, 3 branches in different cities of Serbia, 8 institutes, as well as library, archives, galleries, and a number of other parts or domains of the activity of academy. Departments are, let's say, the centers of our activity. The members convene in those departments, and we have here the departments of natural sciences like mathematics, physics, and geoscience, chemical and biological sciences, technical and medical sciences. But also we have the departments dedicated to social sciences like language and literature, and social sciences more specifically, and historical sciences. And finally, we have the Department of Arts, which reflects our multidisciplinary structure, as well as our name as itself. We are attached to scientific institutes. After the Second World War, it was even more than 25 scientific institutes with about 700 researchers. But gradually, with the change of the system, most of these institutes became, apart from those ones that I mentioned, became independent with all the rules of under which other institutes in Serbia do work, scientific institutes, but they kept a sort of ties with the academy, and this is in the process of decision making, and to some extent with finances. Scientific activities are one of the major focuses of Serbian Academy. And if you look at the projects that are managed from Academy or done in the Academy, you can see that in accordance to the title of our meeting, there is a constant sustainability and the increase of the number of projects, especially individual projects, to less extent departmental projects, but also the number is increasing in during the last decade. Academy is an important publishing institution. Most of the books are scientific ones, and we do about 65 publications per year, which is in Serbia one of the leading publishing institution. And finally, regarding art, there is a beautiful and prestigious gallery in the center of Belgrade that had until now 240 different exhibitions, and seen by many people. And also we have a special gallery for science, which is also associated to the Academy. And that is about Serbian Academy of Sciences that I wanted to tell you, just that you know where you are. But on the other hand, I would like to remind you of something that we spoke about even yesterday at the opening, but also will be spoken during these 2 days of conference, and that is the resolution of the United Nations adopted by General Assembly in 2023, and it concerns the International Decade of Science for Sustainable Development. And we are proud to say that one of the, I wouldn't say main, but one of the courses, one of the pillars that led to the acceptance of this resolution was the meeting that was held here, and 3 years ago, almost exactly 3 years ago, September 19th to 22, 2022. And it was the conference of a World Conference on Basic Science by the time, and Sustainable Development. It was restricted to basic science, but also gave some inputs towards how the future resolution would be made. And these are the conclusions of this conference that, as you can see, covered a lot of areas in order to show what sustainability would mean. And we had, you can see, in this hall and other halls of the Academy, many lectures and fruitful discussions by that time. In our opening of the last evening, we some term of conspiracy meeting was used, and that was this conspiracy meeting in 2022, and conspiracy in the way that we just wanted to formulate what we would like to do and then present to the outer world. And without too much prolongation of my time, I would like just to transmit to you my wishes that this conference would be the continuation of this conspiracy effort, which does not have to be with a lot of conspiracy because resolution is there, but however has a lot of job, as it was shown yesterday evening, and it will be shown during these 2 days about the science and art for sustainability. So welcome to this meeting, welcome to Serbian Academy of Sciences and Arts, and best wishes for a productive and successful conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lalić. Now I am calling Dr. Zhijun, Deputy Executive Secretary, Director of the Alliance of National and Science, International and Science Organizations for the Belt and Road Regions, which is, let me mention that, the main funder of this event. Dr. Yi, please.
Pleasure to welcome you to the World Conference on Science and Art for Sustainability held in beautiful Belgrade. On behalf of the Alliance of National and International Science Organizations for the Belt and Road Regions, or ANSO, I extend my warmest greetings and sincere gratitude for your presence and participation. This conference marks a pivotal moment within the International Decade of Science for Sustainable Development, proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly from 2024 to 2033. It is a testament of our collective commitment to addressing the most pressing challenge facing our planet and humanity. The integral goals of this decade, and indeed of this conference, is to significantly contribute to tracing pathway toward the regeneration and sustainability of nature and society, and to fostering human security and peace. We are here to align our effort with the UN SDGs and the 8 human security dimensions, which guide our path toward the more equitable and habitable world. As we know, the problems of our time, from climate change and resource depletion to social inequality and conflicts, are complex, interconnected, and demand multi- and transdisciplinary solutions. The traditional boundaries of scientific disciplinaries are simply not enough to tackle these global challenges effectively. This is where the unique synergy of science and art become not just valuable but essential. The EHC WAAS program of Science for Sustainable Development under which this conference is a flagship event, underscore the crucial need for the transdisciplinary collaboration. It emphasizes the interaction of contemporary science and technology with traditional knowledge, aiming to establish a solid foundation for advancement in innovation, education, agriculture, and industry for sustainable development at all scales. What truly excites me about this conference is its explicit recognition of the relationship between science and art. These are two distinct yet profoundly complementary methods of inquiry. Science offers objective understanding while art provides subjective interpretation. Together, they can unravel the sense of the universe, communicate profound trust, and push the boundary of human understanding. The result of our scientific endeavors combines with the power of artistic expression, can influence and enrich one another, fostering deeper insights and more impactful solutions. Furthermore, this conference addresses the crucial need to bridge the gap between scientists, artists, policymakers, and all other stakeholders, developing novel paths of communication and cooperation based on mutual respect and trust is paramount. We must evolve from one side, market-driven interactions, to wide participatory co-creation of approaches, driven by societally relevant problems and challenges. The pillar of science and art diplomacy, science and art for diplomacy, science and art in diplomacy, and diplomacy for science and art, all are vital tools in these endeavors. ANSO is honored to co-host this important event. As a non-profit, non-governmental international organization, co-founded by the Chinese Academy of Science, or CAS, and 36 other world-leading scientific institutions in 2018. We will demonstrate our commitment to advancing scientific collaboration and promoting international scientific collaboration to address major global challenges. Currently operating with 78 member institutions across 52 countries. ANSO believes that by gathering distinguished experts from diverse disciplines and regions worldwide, this event will stimulate productive interactions, derive actionable conclusions, and provide implementable insights for global policymakers and stakeholders. We will induce fruitful interactions, deduce concrete conclusions, and present actionable insights to policymakers and stakeholders globally. Similarly, the National Science and Technology Development Agency, or NASDA, of Thailand, of which I have honor to serve as the president. As Thailand's leading national research and development agency, NASDA is deeply committed to leveraging science, technology, and innovation to foster sustainable development within Thailand and contribute global solutions. Our involvement in this pivotal event underscores our dedication to fostering interdisciplinary collaboration and finding impactful solutions for a more sustainable future. NASDA is eager to build collaborations by bringing science, technology, and innovation to support arts and vice versa. Let us seize this opportunity to engage in vibrant discussions, share groundbreaking ideas, and forge new partnerships. May our collective efforts over the next few days inspire innovation, solutions, and accelerate our progress toward a truly sustainable, secure, and peaceful future for us all. Thank you.
That was the pre-recorded video of Professor Limpijumnong, who is the president of ANSO. And now I'm giving the floor to Dr. Zhijun. He is the deputy executive director of ANSO, being in Beijing, in the headquarters of ANSO. Please.
Thank you. Thank our president of ANSO give a welcome speech, and distinguished president of Serbian Academy of Science and Art, and the distinguished expert Nebojša Lalić, expert Garry, Professor and Spirino, and other experts, dear colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. As a founding support to this conference, and also as the executive director of Secretariat of ANSO, it's my great pleasure to welcome all to attend this World Conference of Science and Art for Sustainable Development. This is a significant collaboration among Serbia Academy of Science and Arts and UNESCO and ANSO, and also World Academy of Science and Arts and Rome Club and other. I do not mention all the names. It is my second time to be here in this nice conference room. It's a beautiful city, Belgrade. Last time I attended this international conference of basic science for sustainable development. We gathered not only to stress knowledge, but as a global community to leverage the integration of science and art for sustainable development. I think SASA, and especially Professor Nebojša make it a reality. I know how many efforts he made when preparing for this conference. In today's world, sustainability is a way we think and act in response to many serious challenges. I like to talk about transdisciplinary and international scientific cooperation. As you know, sustainability involves many different disciplines. We cannot dig out art from science. Similarly, we cannot dig out science from art. How can we promote a positive interaction, such as between the natural science and the social science, for economic, social, and environment development in a practical way? This is a very important question that needs to be answered. I'm not an expert on this topic, but yesterday, Professor Spirino mentioned that all science, including social science, all knowledge, including ethnic minority knowledge, for sustainability. I think it is a new definition or vision that Professor Spirino provided us. I wish today's conference would contribute to a more comprehensive understanding on how can science and art works for sustainability, that our digitalized society and our Earth needs. Excellency, let us think about the power of international science cooperation. Perhaps we need a new definition on world cooperation. If we promote science for human being and green development, if we promote people-to-people exchange and communication in science and art, we definitely need trust. Trust between the scientist to scientist, trust among agencies to agencies, trust for the shared purpose. Therefore, the value of trust is necessary consideration for achieving sustainability. This is my personal view for your reference. Before I close my remarks, I expect on this International Decade of Science for Sustainable Development, 2024 to 2033, actually proposed in this conference room 3 years ago. Belgrade is a very beautiful city. Belgrade is the origins of ideas, especially science and art. Because of you, very excellent expert in this room. We should work together across the borders and the regions to further enhance international partnership, inspire new ideas, and share research results that to find solutions of concrete questions. Yeah, it is easy to see, not easy to do. I know. If we have much more trust among the people in this world, we would perhaps achieve more or many better results that we expected. I wish this conference success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Now I'm asking Mr. Garry Jacobs, President and Chief Executive Officer of the World Academy of Art and Science. This institution initiated this conference. Garry, please.
Good morning. I'm extremely pleased to have coming back here representing the World Academy of Art and Science with such a wonderful group of collaborating partners for this event, including ANSO, who has sponsored it, and the Serbian Academy, who is giving us again for the second time in 3 years your home. Thank you for inviting us into your home. The Club of Rome, UNESCO, the Earth Humanities Coalition, which we heard from Michelle yesterday, and Bridges, UNESCO Bridges, ESA, the European Academy of Science and Art, and others. I think this is, to me and to the Academy, a very important event. So much has happened in the world in the last 5 years, almost a dizzying experience, that it's hard for us to take and make sense of where we are in the world today. And sometimes we need a historical perspective to put things more clearly. Today, science and technology has reached unprecedented levels of accomplishment, of knowledge, and power for accomplishment. The evolution of knowledge, the evolution of technology, is part of a much wider movement, and that is the evolution of global society. Never before in history has humanity gone through so much change so rapidly, year after year, decade after decade, shown unimagined capacities that we never had before, shown unimagined accomplishments that we never had before, and great opportunities for the future. And I'd be happy, and we'd all be happy, if we could stop with that description. But at the same time, we're facing unimagined and unanticipated challenges, greater than any challenges humanity has faced since its inception, as far as we know. all the power we have, all the capacity we have, all the knowledge we have, rather than solving all of our problems, which we believe it can do, and I believe it can do, in another sense seems to be aggravating them. And unless we understand why these two movements are going side by side with each other, and unless we understand how to accelerate the positive movement and contain and manage the side effects, we are very uncertain of our future. And the way we describe this today, we just finished the Academy, a 4-day conference with more than 100 speakers, 28 sessions on global turbulence. Why, when we're so determined that we can achieve the goals of the Sustainable Development that were founded in unprecedented achievement of 2015, yet everything seems to be getting in the way now. Our momentum on progress on the SDGs is slowed down almost to a halt in many. We've only completed about 17% of the goals which we're supposed to achieve by 2030. Why? What's going on? What do we have to do differently? What do we have to do more or less than we've been doing up until now? And that turbulence we can describe in many ways, and because we are living it every day and seeing it in the papers every day, it doesn't require much description. The outbreak of war, which we thought we had put to rest at the end of the Cold War, the outbreak and sudden acceleration of militarization and military spending, which we had reduced dramatically at the end of Cold War, the movement towards real multilateralism, the building of multilateral cooperation, the WTO, the Union, the European Union, the Internet, which linked us all together in a way humanity has never been linked up until now, and all of that momentum, which encouraged 193 countries of the world to believe that by 2030 we could achieve 17 SDGs, unprecedented in history. Never has humanity come together and set up an agenda with practical goals and concrete targets, 169 targets, and we're going to do that in a 15-year period. Now we may look back and say we were over-optimistic, we were naive, we did something, but that doesn't really explain why we're in this situation. And unless we explain to ourselves why we're in this situation, how are we going to come out of it? To do that, I'd like to reflect in a very, very brief overview, looking back on the history of science. I'm not going to go back to the Enlightenment and the period of Newton and Galileo and Copernicus and go and trace all through these stages. I want to just fast speed up to 1945, because that was a real turning point in the history of science and the history of humanity, which it took us a little while to figure out. Up until that time, so science, with all of its great leaders and all of its great achievements, pretty much lived in an ivory tower. The pursuit of knowledge for knowledge's sake was not the thing that was driving humanity and driving society and driving social change. It was planting seeds, tremendous, valuable seeds. Of course, we had the Industrial Revolution of the 19th and early 20th century, but that was mainly not the academic science. It was mainly done by inventors, creators, technologists, engineers, who were harnessing the power that we were beginning to understand to produce the Industrial Revolution. Not one, but two, but three industrial revolutions. But something else happened in 1945. During the middle or close to the end of the Cold War, we all know the history, I don't have to spell it out. Scientists in America, including Einstein, who wrote a letter to President Roosevelt, said, there's a real chance that Germany would be developing a nuclear weapon, an atomic weapon, and we have to do it first. And the U.S. launched the Manhattan Project and appointed Robert Oppenheimer, who's now well known, if not then, as the head of the Manhattan Project, and we know what happened after that. The bomb was used. Whether it should have been or not is a big question of ethical debate now, but it was very clear to the scientists, majority of the scientists who developed that weapon, it should never have been used. And Oppenheimer and Niels Bohr, went to President Truman at that time and said, we need not use this weapon, and if we do use it, if we use it for military purposes, we'll be opening a Pandora's box. And unfortunately, that warning was not taken seriously, and we ended up with the arms race, and the idea that nobody else could do what America did was quite naive, as we know, and it eventually led to the Cold War and the dividing of the world into polar superpowers. And in 1955, Bertrand Russell, Albert Einstein, and 9 other scientists came together and issued what they called the Russell-Einstein Manifesto, where leading scientists and intellectuals were saying, we have to stop this. We have to stop relying on our technical power, our scientific power. We have to remember our humanity and forget the rest. The next year, the first international conference on science for human welfare was conducted in Washington, D.C., and the decision was taken to found a World Academy of Art and Science. The Academy was founded in 1960 by Robert Oppenheimer, by Bertrand Russell. Einstein was an honorary member. He had already passed away before his dream could be fulfilled. And the Academy, in its infancy, notice it was the Academy of Art and Science, though almost all the founders were scientists. And in their first publication, they wrote and explained why art was such an important part of the agreement, of their formula. And I'm going to come back to that tomorrow afternoon in a session on art and elaborate on it. But the key attributes that the founders thought was essential was, this must be a transnational organization. Why? Because the problems facing humanity, even in 1960, were really global challenges that could not be addressed by countries individually. It had to be addressed by people looking on behalf of the whole of the world. We couldn't be just science representing a country. We had to be science representing humanity. We also, and I'm very much appreciate the comments that we heard this morning and what we heard yesterday in that wonderful inaugural session about the importance of transdisciplinarity. That the problems we face are so complex, so much integrated and interlinked with each other, that there's no way they can be addressed in this piecemeal, siloed basis. Because none of these problems can be solved by themselves. Each one of these issues has implications and connections with the other issues. And that was appreciated in the drawing up of the SDGs for Agenda 2030. At least in principle it was agreed, but it wasn't quite clear how do we break down the disciplinary silos and really getting people not just working together, but thinking together to understand the complex interactions which we're confronting. And the third thing the founders insisted on, this was not an academy to do fundamental research. This was the mission of the academy was to be an agency of human welfare. In other words, it wasn't the science that was important, it was humanity that was important. It wasn't what we invent, it was what is the impact on society as a whole. And I'm mentioning that because I think these ideas that were understood then have still to become fully realized in the world of science. And I think of this conference as a very important initiative, bringing together such a diverse and rich group of organizations and people with diverse perspectives that unless we didn't get the formula right in 1945, we didn't get it right in 1960, the genie was let out of the box. And that's not the only genie that's been let out of the box since. And the most recent one of them is AI. AI with remarkable, tremendous capacities for the advance of humanity. But also, if we don't learn the lessons of how to use our inventions properly, it can present even greater threats than the nuclear genie has up until now. And the Academy also insisted that we need to think differently. In their first publication, they were talking not about science and the wonders of science, they were talking about the process of discovery and creativity. And that's when they started to discuss the parallels and complementarity between art and science, which I'll come back to. But they agreed we need a different type of knowledge than what we call knowledge today. Scientific knowledge by isolated disciplines in silos is simply not the kind of knowledge that's going to promote human welfare for everybody, human security for everywhere. And we have 80 years of testimony to show that it doesn't work. We have great advances, but at the same time we have great complications. In the late 40s, we had the great breakthrough in discovery of vaccines and antibiotics. And what was the first result of this amazing life-saving discovery? We had the population explosion of the 1950s and 1960s. It was a great discovery and saved so many lives. Life expectancy went up, infant mortality went down, but the problem we solved led to another problem. And then we introduced the technology for the Green Revolution in order to multiply the food supply to meet the problems of a growing population already in the world. India pioneered it, and it spread all over from there. Phenomenal results in agriculture. It looked really phenomenal, miraculous. And then what happened by the end of the 1960s, when the Green Revolution was only 4 years old, suddenly the environmental concerns began to rise. Club of Rome was founded a few years later. World Academy was already conducting conferences by 1970 in the challenges to our environment, at the same time that we've got too many people around and our resources cannot support it. So something was there in our thinking, with all the brilliance, with all the creativity, and with all the good intention, that we seem to be not only creating new discoveries, but creating new problems for ourselves. And our thinking was not adequate to prepare us to understand and adjust to them. And even where we had an understanding of what needs to be done, we haven't had the will to do it. So what is the knowledge we need today? It's easy for the scientists of the Manhattan Project to say, we told the government don't use this weapon. We did it because we thought we were saving democracy, and now we think it's threatening people all over the world. So it's not the science, it's not the physicists who have done this. We were only doing what was patriotic to save the free world, but it's somebody else who made the wrong decision. So where is our boundary of science? What happened to our understanding of global society, of political science, of economic science? For 200 years, and I won't go into it, we all know it, for 200 years we had an economic theory which ignored the impact on the environment. 200 years. Okay, you can say it was 150 before somebody started warning, but we still have an economic theory that measures wealth and measures progress and measures productivity in financial terms, and is only now struggling to put some value on the very planet we live on. So my point here is, we're at a critical juncture. This is a very auspicious occasion as far as I'm concerned, because UNESCO has projected a 10-year decade for sustainable science. And what are we going to do differently in this next 10 years than what we've been doing for the last 80? What is science going to do differently? What is our conception of knowledge going to be in the future? What will we mean when we say it's reliable knowledge? It's really truth value knowledge that we can live by. Have we reached it yet? If we haven't reached it, what do we need to do and what do we need to do differently? So, very briefly, in 2013, we were invited by the UN in Geneva to study the global challenges facing humanity at that time. The same ones that are on the list today, except they're much more serious today than they were then. And within a year and a half, the Agenda 2030 came out with a plan of action by 193 countries. And I confess, it was very rewarding to see that the countries of the world are serious about addressing all of these challenges. And for the first few years afterwards, it looked very encouraging. And in 2020, UN invited us back again for a conference on global leadership in the 21st century. What type of leadership do we need to have to understand the challenges we face, the power and capacities we have, and how we're going to manage this situation? And it became clear to us when we were studying that for our conferences, humanity lacks a very critical knowledge that we need. We don't understand the process of our own global social evolution. We can trace it back, looking in the rearview mirror, and say, well, it all happened in a logical fashion. But we've never been able to anticipate what was really going to happen as our technology and science advanced, and how we're going to handle it. And it's very rewarding to have UNESCO as a sponsor of this conference, because UNESCO had that sense to create a new division called MOST, Managing Social Transformation. Not managing it at the local level, not even at the national level. How are we going to manage it at the global level? How are we going to manage ourselves consciously, which we've never done up until now? And when I think of what science has to do in the next decade, these are the questions we need to be looking at. These are the questions we need that transcend all disciplines, but involve all disciplines. And it requires us to understand the interaction between all disciplines. I believe there are solutions to the challenge we face, and we've been hearing them. We heard them yesterday, and we've already heard them this morning. The transition to real transdisciplinarity, which really understands that we don't understand anything unless we understand its complete relation to everything else. And we know that's not the way our educational system works, it's not the way our science works, it's not the way, and how are we going to evolve that knowledge and understanding, not only among the scientists, but among our leaders who have to take the decisions, among our policymakers? We know we have to do a much better job of communication between the members of different disciplines, because it's colleagues of the Academy who spend their whole time trying to get interdisciplinary groups together and find them each speaking at each other rather than really understanding each other, because they use different language, different concepts, different priorities. How are we going to get the right communication between science and diplomats? Science diplomacy. And I will just wind up now. How are we going to get the kind of multi-sectoral collaboration we need between different organizations, between business and science and government and religion and NGOs? We were asked in 2023 by the UN to launch what they called a global campaign on human security for all. And the first people we went to was the Consumer Electronics Association, which is the largest association of major corporations in the world in the technology field. And they understood that this is a message for their members. but it was just the beginning of an opening. We're now worked with them for 3 years. How are we going to create really multi-sectoral collaboration? For those of you who are familiar with GESTA, the Geneva Science and Diplomacy Accelerator, they are the ones who are trying to create this kind of model where they get all the decision makers from all the disciplines, from basic research all the way to implementation, financing, and execution together. It's a model that we can look to the future. And how are we going to change the educational system to really prepare youth, as it was mentioned yesterday, for the challenges we face? I look forward very much to the presentations from the rest of the conference, and I look with the high aspirations that we can take a real step forward here. And on behalf of the Academy, we welcome and look forward to closer collaboration with all the organizations represented in this room. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs.